My happy place would be like planning a conference and I'm on the phone with the DJ 1 second and on another phone like with the caterer and I'm like trying to figure out where the rug went. Like that's, I don't know, something about the business just appeals to me. Who is Jemimah? So my name is Jemimah Orevaoghene. Really long last name. I was born in Nigeria, grew up in Ghana, and now I live in South Africa. And so there's a lot of like geographical jumping all around Africa. But yeah, I'm the fourth of 5 children. And I guess something that's probably really unique to me is the fact that I hold family as most important, like in life. After my faith, like family is just like the next most important thing to me. All the activities in my cup right now. So I'm currently a mentor for 3 students in Nigeria under the Yale Young African Scholars Program, which is just like inspiring them to like aspire for greatness, more or less. That's definitely there. I'm also the Executive Assistant Director for the Ivy Leadership Summit. I'm also the Finance Director for the Yale Undergraduate Association for Peace and Development in Africa, YAPT. And that, I feel a very personal connection to YAPT just because it's about development and I want to go into development in the future. What else do? I also sleep a lot. That's definitely one of my favorite extracurricular activities. But I'm in TD, Timothy Dwight College. It's the best residential college here at Yale. Yes, it is. I'm really involved like in the TD community as well. I work at the Afro-American Cultural Center, which is known as the House. It's where I call home on campus. Well, one of the places I call home on campus. And it's a great way because then I feel like I'm giving directly back to a community that I do feel a personal connection to. And that's, yeah. And I work at the School of Management. Yeah. At the School of Management, I work with the Alumni Association office. I'm a student worker there, so it's just like help them like with events or like anything really that needs to be helped with. And I work with like great people there who are like super important and super busy, but like still take time off their day to ask you how you're doing and make sure you're actually fine. Like not just how you doing, but like how you actually doing. I think I tend to value the relationships I've made there like a lot. I think it's really interesting that you use the word privilege because a lot of people do see it that way because they're like, oh, like you've lived in Ghana and Nigeria and South Africa and France. Oh my God, like you're so privileged. And even though those are amazing experiences, which I wouldn't trade for anything else, I feel like one of the biggest problems with moving around so often is that you tend to know that whatever friendship you're having with someone is like has a time limit on it, more or less. And so you do tend to have like less deeper friendships on that side. But that said, for me with my family, it just made us all the more tighter because I think we just came to the realization that we're all we have. And so we just really like my family literally just collapsed in like a typical day when everyone comes back from school or comes back from work. It's just like everyone just like sits around everyone. It's like, oh, how was your day? Like, what did you do? Like, what was exciting? What wasn't really great? And we just like talk it out more or less. And that atmosphere is what I refer to as home, not necessarily a geographical location. So my eldest sister is 25. My older brother is 23. My other older sister is 22. And I have a younger brother who is 5. No, that's a lie. He's 17. I have a 17-year-old younger brother, which is like pretty cool because it's just like evenly spaced. So, for example, one of my favorite memories from like when I was a kid was my big sister coming to like pick me up from school. So like, or my big brother would like drive me around, which is great because then you end up being spoiled and pampered. But like I definitely have loved having that age gap between all of us. And I think another really interesting thing is the fact that 3 of us are in college at the same time, and my big brother's in South Africa, my sister's in Ghana, I'm here, and so it's like different experiences. So we're always like trading stories, like, oh my God, this happened, and like this also happened, like, this is crazy. So my sister, she's majoring in pharmacy, and she spent like 2 weeks in the middle of nowhere, like just went to like a village, like helping them out with their local healthcare, and it just really changed how much she valued life. Just because I feel like one thing in general is a lot of people feel as though they're entitled to life and they're entitled to be alive today, they're entitled to being healthy. But when she went on that 2 weeks like field trip more or less, she really realized that it's actually a blessing to be alive. And that really is something that impacted me from her experience. I mean, it wasn't even my experience and I got impacted. But yeah, that, for example, really did shift the way I saw things. I probably think one of the reasons why I'm like that is my mom's like that. My mom's really like that. And my high school, you had to be like that to be able to like survive, more or less. But I'll definitely say that my mom's she's very empathetic. She's very, like, she responds to how people feel. And the one thing she always leaves me with is the fact that you are entitled to feel however you feel. And being honest about how you feel is probably one of the most important things you can do for yourself. And just really being honest to yourself. And so I value people's emotions because I realize that this is one of the rawest, most purest parts of themselves. And I can't invalidate how someone genuinely feels, I mean, for whatever reason. And so, like, I feel like maybe that's why. In first semester of freshman year, I took a class called Death in 140 Characters. It was an English 114 class. And prior to that, I didn't realize that I was actually interested in anything that had to do with development. But I ended up writing like a research paper on foreign aid policies and social media campaigns and all of that. And for me, I just feel like being able to empower someone to help themselves is more, I mean, obviously people have different views from me, but I feel like it's more of a long-term effort than just like, oh, here's $500. And then what, more or less. But if I'm like, here are the skills I can give you to be able to make more than $500, I feel like that's something that better appeals to me. And I think it's also because I realize that a lot of people, especially like, I mean, I don't want to like generalize, but I feel like a lot of people on the continent are very hardworking, and people, I mean, because, like, for example, I always tip my hats off to people who live in Nigeria. Like, the state of the economy is bad. And yet people like go out on a daily basis, like work so hard to put their children through school, to pay the bills. And I really do admire people like that. And I feel like given the resources, these people could do so much more with it. And yeah, maybe perhaps that's probably one of the things that really resonates with me about development. And also just like making use of what you have. Because if I'm giving you $100, I'm not doing anything for you. But if I'm giving you the education, that's worth much more than $100. And I don't know, I feel like that makes better sense to me. How did I get here? I think I'll attribute a lot of it to my high school experience. I went to like a really bougie high school, like really wealthy. It's just like presidents and prime ministers and ministers like kids, more or less. But one of the things that I feel I noticed the most was the fact that, I mean, I come from an okay family, like we're well off, which is great. But I realized that I learned to identify opportunities when I saw them. Whereas like for a lot of my colleagues at school, it was just like, oh, like this sounds like work. so I'm not gonna do it. And I'm like, are you kidding? Because I remember, for example, we had Judge Bush was coming to my high school, and people were like, yeah, that sounds like work. And I was like, what? Like, what? I wouldn't be Judge Bush. And so, like, just like little things like that, or maybe there's like a scholarship that has been given, or there's a trip to some country. People are like, yeah, but then you have to like put in all that work. And I'm like, hello. So I definitely think like having the contrast of backgrounds between coming from a family that was like just okay to like being in a school which was like overflowing with money more or less. Like I definitely learned to be more sensitive to opportunities and taking advantage of them. And I think that has contributed to me just being still being able to like identify opportunities wherever I find myself and inserting myself in the circles that I want to. And I feel like it also, so the last 2 years of my high school, my 3 best friends left. Like they all left, and like one of them went to the UK, another one of them went to Cardiff, and another one of them transferred to another school. And they were the only 3 people I hung out with like throughout my high school. And so it was like the year before senior year, and you're suddenly like, oh, I'm all alone. This is great. But I'm grateful for that now because I realized that it made me more individual. Like I'm very like individually minded. And so I've never really been a we all type of movement. Like if I don't feel a personal connection to a movement, I don't join it. I wouldn't contribute to something that I don't personally feel convinced about. And I think that that's a great thing to have, especially today that like there's just so many mass movements and you can get caught up with which you actually do believe in, which you actually are committed to. And so yeah, I think that definitely makes me more selective of what I commit myself to. So that's definitely how I got here. But also I would say, so I did speak about how I'm very close to my family, but this summer I spent 6 days at home. Spent the rest of the summer, I was traveling between Ghana, Rwanda, and Zimbabwe, and I was tutoring high school students in politics, law and economics, and international affairs and security. And really just like the liberal arts education. It was great, but I realized that it was the longest time I'd ever spent away from home whilst not like in school. So it was just like a lot of free time. And New Haven during the summer, for example, was amazing. I really loved it. Like I would like jog down Orange Street like really early in the morning at like 11 p.m. I mean 11 a.m., which was my definition of early during the summer. And I feel like it just made me more of my own person. So I was home for 6 days. It was great. I loved it. But when I was leaving, I wasn't like, oh my God, I just don't want to leave. I was glad I was home, but I was also happy to leave because Yale kind of feels like home too as well.